Wednesday on the Audible, back in the bubble. Kim Bokamper, James Walker from ESPN.com covering the Jets, covering the Miami Dolphins. I don't know why the Jets popped in my mind, but for some reason they did pop in my mind. I think it's because I was looking at the win-loss record by the Dolphins, and the last win that stuck in my mind was their win over the Jets. So
October 22nd.
I had that win on my mind.
That's crazy.
I'm yearning for better days is what I'm doing.
It's been a long time since the Dolphins have won a game, man. So.
It's funny because I was just looking at the scores, the Dolphins' win-loss record as they go along, and you're sitting there at 4-2, feeling pretty good about everything, and then, boy, what a downturn it's been, man.
Yeah, and they were 4-2 considering all the adversity that had hit them with the hurricane and the resignation of Chris Forster and Lawrence Timmons going AWOL, then coming back to the team, losing their bye week. All those things had happened, and they were 4-2 at that point. So you're like, okay, obviously things have to settle down because it can't continue to be that crazy for the whole year. Maybe they can continue that stretch and still play good football.
James,
but
how much of that stuff, the accumulation of those things, you think have affected this football team? I know, look, no one's looking for excuses. No one's throwing – but you know, when you look at it, I've been around a long time, and I've never seen a season – you know, here you've seen a season where you've had hurricane issues or this or that. But, I mean, to have so many issues stack up, and for a while it seemed like it was – week after week after week after week, where you just couldn't catch a breath without something happening. And do you feel like any of that just has piled onto these guys and it's made it difficult for the season?
I think it has taken a toll. I think if I had to pick one thing more than anything, it's the loss of a bye week. And as a former player, I mean, you know how physical this game is. To have to do it 16 weeks in a row is tough. And I think you're seeing a team that's really losing steam, losing gas down the stretch. They've had a lot of injuries now. More and more guys are getting rest days off in practice. You saw Cam Waken and Dominican Suh didn't practice today. That was something that wasn't the case earlier in the year as far as them getting rest days. So, yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, the loss of a bye week and having to go 16 straight weeks has really hurt them. But they've been taking hit after hit after hit after hit. But still, no excuse for them to lose 5 in a row. They need to play better football on Sundays.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not it's funny because, you talk to people, talk to coaches, talk to players, watch the games, give them the eyeball test. And you look at a team that's playing hard. I mean, it'd be one thing if you saw a team out there and, they weren't trying and weren't giving effort. But it's not. That's not the situation. But the situation is, as you alluded to, it's execution. Just not executing properly or consistently enough from a number of different sources.
And I had questions about this team early in the year, and when they started 4-2, I kind of let that subside. But
it wasn't a pretty 4-2.
No, it wasn't. But certain things, little details like football IQ, pre-snap penalties. I mean, that wasn't an issue last week, but my goodness, the 2 and 3 weeks before that, they couldn't snap the ball on time, or every guys were lining up off the line of scrimmage, like simple mental errors that at the NFL level should not have been the case. As I mentioned, they did fix it last week against the Patriots, but they still lost by 18 points. But yeah, I mean, there were certain football IQ things. The team couldn't go half huddle, couldn't go no huddle, had to slow it down, had to trim down the playbook a little bit on offense. Those kind of things, especially in the second year in the system, playing the same offense, the same defense, should have been figured out. But the players hadn't really responded in that way. So we'll see in these last 5 games if they can get that part straightened out. But yeah, they got to fix that part. You can't have that many penalties. You can't have that many mental errors because you're not going to beat teams physically if you're making those mental mistakes.
I think that may be one of the things that's most concerning and confounding to me.
Yeah, that's a good
is
word.
The fact that you looked at this team last year, you kept the base of this football team back. You had your draft choices. You signed a couple free agents, but you kept the guys you wanted to keep. And one of the things we kept talking about during the offseason was, this is one of the few years it seems like where you've had, where they're going to have the same offensive scheme. Defensive coordinator, but same scheme, same terminology, same everything. So it should be it should be just getting more knowledge of this offense and defense, understanding it more, being more comfortable with it. Instead, it seems to have taken a U-turn and gone in the other directions to where you get to the point where, Coach Gaze is standing up after games, right after games, or on the Monday press conferences saying, we're close, guys are getting, but, we just, guys are inconsistent, guys aren't doing their jobs, guys are trying to do too much. All these things that you would, and really the fact that he said he's had to really boil this offense down to the bare minimum.
He wasn't happy about
to get
that.
things going. No, he shouldn't be happy. But look, you got a lot of guys that are playing on this team, been in the National Football League for a long time.
Yep.
I don't give a crap I don't care about terminology. I don't care about schemes because when push comes to shove, everybody in teams everyone in this league's run the same place.
Yep.
And you can see what everyone's running.
Yep.
And you go out and you work on it. And I don't think there's any excuse for that. And it bothers me as well as I'm sure it bothers every one of these coaches. I remember when I remember coaching my daughter. This is when I learned the frustration of coaching.
Yeah.
I was coaching my daughter. She was 7 years old, 6 to 8 year old girls softball,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So I said, look, I'll coach my daughter. And I coached first 2 weeks of practice, spent practice just working on, where to line up, where to run if the ball's hit, the whole thing, going through all the fundamentals. And look, I was just for them having fun. I wasn't there. But I wanted to learn how to play, but I wanted to have fun. So I'm sitting there, so we get to the first game. First batter gets up, hits the ball out to left field. The entire team runs out to left field chasing the ball. Meanwhile, the one girl from the other team, and I'm going, wait a minute, we worked on this. I know it's a different level, but that's got to be the frustration these coaches have on the sideline. When you work on stuff, you talk about it, you go over situations, you go over patterns, you go over, things that they like to do, tendencies, and then when it shows up in the game, one guy, two guys out of position, and they hurt you, and they hurt you in a big way.
And why have all these spring practices and training camp where you're just pounding these guys, going over and over these same things, and then in October and November, those things don't show up. So
it should be so second nature.
Yeah.
This stuff, by this time in the season, whether you're a rookie or a veteran, this stuff should be so second nature to you that it doesn't. And I think that's why there's a frustration level organizationally for what's going on here. Let me get to some news here before we move on and get some of these questions. Jay Cutler's out of the concussion protocol. He will start for the Dolphins on Sunday against the Denver Broncos. They've added rookie Davion Smith to the 53-man roster. Took him off the practice squad, obviously, with the injuries to the running backs last week. That certainly is something was needed. He's a rookie out of Michigan who's an undrafted free agent, 5'11", 221. Denver, Paxton Lynch is out. Trevor Siemian starts. Aqib Talib will miss the game. He's suspended in the
that might be big for this
in
team.
Chaingate, the whole
chain snatching allegations. Yeah, it's been a crazy year in the NFL.
It really has been a crazy year.
The Dolphins have contributed their share.
Yeah, they've had their fair share. But this thing, first of all, why does a guy wear a chain in a game? Is first because I know he's not. I know that's not a chain you get at like Claire's or one of those little, those $5, $2.50.
It could be superstition. A lot of these players.
It could be.
Did you have any superstitions as a player?
None of them had anything to do with jewelry. The only superstition I had was I wanted a ring to wear on my finger, but that was the only thing. That was the only concern I had for jewelry. But I had my superstitions. I leave the hotel at the same time.
Okay.
Dress the same way, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, this thing to me, because the funny thing was, evidently Crabtree taped it down this time.
Yeah, he knew,
and still got it snatched off his neck. So it's there's been some bizarre stuff going on there. It's been crazy. Let's go ahead and get some of these questions in. Nelson Negron from Facebook. Talk me off the ledge, Bo. Well, look, I'm sitting next to you on the ledge, my man. I'm sitting there right next to you, wondering every day whether I should jump off or not. But I'm going to keep my feet firmly planted on the ground. I'm going to keep optimistic about this football team. Because, hey, look, I'm a 305. I'm a 9.54 guy. If you're a 305 guy, a 5.61 guy, wherever you're in South Florida, this is your football team, man.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, and it's angry. And I said the other day, look, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. I'm all the same things that everyone out here is, and everyone that sends all the comments that we can't read on the program here. If you could send some comments where you're not, cussing and saying shit we can't say on the air, then maybe we'll ask your questions on the air.
Such as what you
we'll ask your stuff on the air. But no, I feel everyone's frustration, and I feel that way. But look, this is my team. This is my, I've been a fan of this football team since 1971 when I was in California. I'm not going to give up on them. I'm going to be frustrated, but I'm not going to give up on them.
Here's a concern I have for this team. Yeah, every team has a bad season. The team's having a down year. Man, I don't know if they're all that well positioned to have necessarily a bright future, going forward. And I think that's more than anything is what fans could be frustrated about long term is they still got to make a lot of upgrades. They're going to need a lot of things, and you have to assume that Ryan Tannehill, if he's the guy coming in next year, is he going to come back as the same guy he was 2 seasons ago?
Well, let me ask you this, James. Yeah. Because I'm starting to believe this, that one of the biggest one of the biggest differences in why this offense isn't as effective now this year as it was last year is because of the loss of Ryan Tannehill.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ryan, to me, fits this offense and Adam Gase is more so than anybody because, first of all, he's a conservative guy. He's going to be smart with the football. He may, if he has one fault, one of his biggest fault, maybe that he holds the ball a little too long.
Yeah, but there's a plus to that.
But there's a plus to that. You don't turn the ball over. You don't create problems. He's, his ability to run. Now, whether he's able to run at the same degree when he comes back from the knee injury, that's the question. But he understands this offense, and I think he runs this offense like someone runs a business. Very dedicated to it, very disciplined with it. Do what you're supposed to do.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. And I think there's something to be said for that within this offense. And which leads me to believe that a healthy Ryan Tannehill coming back next year, saying that if it's a healthy Ryan Tannehill coming back next year that's able to work out during training camp and do some things, maybe the elixir that this offense needs.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that you mentioned that I think that they're missing. You mentioned that run-pass option. That was huge. If you remember when Ryan Tannehill was healthy, he would have a 20-yard sprint that defenses were caught off guard with, with that run-pass option. They can't do that with Jay Cutler and Matt Moore. That play is pretty much out of the playbook.
The read option is just
that's way out the window. So that's one thing. Also, Ryan stood tall in the pocket. You mentioned he holds the ball too long, and yes, he did, and he took some sacks. But he'd also take that extra second in the pocket to make that 20, 25-yard completion, get smacked right underneath the chin, and get right back up. I mean, his toughness cannot be underrated and what he brought to that offense. And they've been missing those 15, 20, 25-yard plays where it takes that extra second for the receiver to get open. The quarterback knows he has to take a lick. Jay Cutler hasn't been taking that lick. He's either been getting rid of it early, self-preservation, or what have you. And Jay Cutler being 34 at the tail end of his career, that's probably playing a factor in that in terms of him, having that self-preservation button. And Ryan Tannehill, for whatever reason, just being extra ultra tough, just simply doesn't have it.
And I just don't think this offense and Jay Cutler, I don't think, having come in late, having not been to training camp, or, coming in just after training camp started, not having the off season, I think Ryan Tannehill, his knowledge of this offense is probably head and shoulders above Jay Cutler on the way this offense needs to be run. And I think that's the difference. So if I'm going to try to talk you off the ledge, I'm going to say, hey, you know what, Ryan's coming back. I think this offense is going to be better. But I think it's also focused on some of the weak areas. And again, you go back to the offensive line. You go back to the guard situation. Now you got to throw running back in there is an area of concern now from a depth standpoint. And look, I'm a guy that believes on the defensive side of the football that your two young cornerbacks are going to get better. I think they're going to get better as we go along. So I think the future in the secondary for the next couple of years, I'm not going to go crazy and say it's bright, but I think there's a good growth area there in that position. They got to find a way to solidify that linebacker position, and maybe Raekwon McMillan coming back. Maybe he does that.
He looked good before his injury. I mean, he was on line to be a starter. And look, they need immediate impact from next year's draft class. They're just in that position. A lot of teams like to let their guys wait a year or two or things like that and let them learn. But the Dolphins aren't in a position to where they can just sign big, huge free agents to come fill these holes. They're going to need some of their draft picks to come in and fill holes right away next year.
Look at this year, James. Let's look on defense. You got a rookie in Tankersley playing. You've got Devin Gottschall and Vincent Taylor playing a lot. Now you've got Chase Allen playing, another rookie in there playing.
Undrafted.
What other rookie am I missing in there that on defense?
Raekwon is injured.
So and offensively, I don't think we're looking at any rookies on that side of the ball. But on the defensive side of the football, I think they've had a number of players that came through the draft. Charles Harris.
Charles Harris.
We haven't talked to him. Another guy in there. But these are guys these rookies are all guys that are getting a lot of playing time, getting a lot of experience, and at least from my standpoint, history says those guys are all going to be much better players next year for having played the number of plays they've played this year.
Yeah, that year two jump. And those guys have been, you can debate whether they've been great or inconsistent or things like that. I think Gottschall's probably been the most consistent of the group. Tankersley had some good games. He's had some, not so good games. Charles Harris hasn't really been that sack guy at this point that they expect.
But he's doing some decent things out there for you.
And they're getting reps, as you mentioned. That's the thing. So a lot of guys make those year 2 jumps, and you hope you could throw Raekwon McMillan in that mix, even though he didn't play this year, that he can make a year 2 jump. And together, maybe that group can make a bigger impact. But they're going to also need much more rookie contributions next year as well because their cap situation.
Yeah, but look, we talked about 5 rookies right there, right?
Yeah, that's
and look, if they get 5 rookies again next year to come in impact, then all of a sudden you've got a core of young guys that are your guys that you got for 5 years that you can
at
build
a very
around.
affordable rate.
Build around at an affordable rate. So I don't think look, it's frustrating now, and to be honest with you, I mean it would take an utter miracle for this football team to get to the postseason where they're at right now. You know, I mean it would.
They have to run the table.
They have to run the table, and then a lot of other things have to fall apart for other teams. So yeah, it is kind of looking ahead maybe to next year and what it could be. But I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been looking ahead for the last couple of weeks. When they were 4-5 and they lost their quarterback and they got blown out by the Ravens 40-0, I just didn't see any miracle turnaround in November and December.
No, I think everyone, you kind of you look at it a different way because you're an unbiased.
Yeah, I'm neutral.
You're neutral. You report, for people that have like a bias towards this team, from whether it's fans or guys like me or other people, you kind of knew what was going on, and you're saying even at 4-2, you go, man, these been 4 ugly wins. They're 4 wins, but they're ugly wins. So I don't think it's a surprise to anybody where we're at right now. But and you hate to be looking forward to next year at this time, but I think that's where we're at. Let's go to Matt Gillette here on Facebook. This is one of the most undisciplined teams I can remember. Talent's there, focus is not. Is that on coaching, players, preparation, or what? To me, when it comes to focus, that to me is responsibility of players.
Yeah, I was curious to see what your answer was.
If your players aren't focused, then that's the problem with the players.
Yeah,
a coach can't get in there and wind you up.
Yep. And every week, Adam Gase comes in and he says, "Look, we're drilling the mental fundamentals and things like that to avoid pre-snap penalties. The pre-snap penalties are the ones that just drive the coaches crazy. Effort penalties are not. I mean, they're bad because they cost, but you're trying hard. Yeah. Maybe you go a little beyond the whistle, or you hold, extra effort to preserve your quarterback, whatever that is. Yeah. Effort penalties are effort penalties. It's the jumping off sides. It's the false starts. It's the not lining up right. It's wasting time on the play clock, because you're in the wrong position.
Getting into a skirmish or a late hit or those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean
those are killers for you.
Those are the things you got to be more disciplined with, and that's been one of the key differences between last year's team and this year's team. For whatever reason, this team has not had that same football IQ level and that same discipline level that it takes. And when you're in close games, I mean, they won a string of close games last year that they're just not – either they're getting blown out or they're not winning this year. And a lot of that is because they haven't had that same level of mental focus. And I agree with you. A lot of that's on the players. Yeah,
I think they've got to come up with that. There's certain things that players can't just walk in and out of this building and think by osmosis they're going to be ready to play. They've got to – they got to do a little self-scouting and they've got to invest a little of their own time into being ready to play on game day.
And that's a good point. I think they've been humbled a bit in that they came in coming off a 10-win season, coming off a playoff season. They had some additions. They probably thought that they, as you mentioned, can kind of just roll in here, keep that train rolling, and everything will kind of come to them. It hasn't been that kind of year, and they suffered for it.
Yep. Another Facebook question, Black Man Game from Periscope. What do we do with the running back position for the last 5 games? Well, it is what it is.
Got to go with what you have. Yeah.
You got Davion Smith. The rookie's going to get a chance.
Kenyon Drake
is going to be the man. I don't see.
That's.
I don't see anyone coming back.
Yeah.
In the near future, so it's you're going to get a good dose of
Drake. Yeah.
Of Drake and I don't think Damian Williams. I don't see that.
Shoulder injury. That's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough.
But with Drake, this is actually, and I spoke to him a bit in the locker room today. This is a golden opportunity for him because he's been behind Ajayi and behind Damian Williams to a degree since he got here.
Yep.
Now, because of trades and the injury and everything, now he's the man. He's the guy that can get the ball 20, 25 times. And there's been some people in South Florida that want to see. Let's see what Kenyon Drake looks like when he gets the ball 20 times.
I tell you what, Kenyon needs to. Kenyon's going to. He's just by the skill that he's got and by his speed, he's going to break some big plays for you.
Yep.
But he can't go -1, 1, 2, -1, 35.
Yep.
You know, you got to start seeing some 4-yarders,
yep,
some 5-yarders, just first down. So now it's 2nd and 6 instead of 2nd and 9. It's 2nd and 4 instead of 2nd and 1, or 2nd and 10. He's got to find a way to be a back that gives you positive yardage, whether it's 3 yards to 5 yards, virtually. I wouldn't say every time he touches the ball, but a majority of the time he's got to get positive yards, more positive yards.
You're exactly right. He has the Dolphins' 2 longest runs this year. Yep. He has a 69-yard run and a 44-yard run. But as you mentioned, he also has those -2s, -5s, and that's another thing that drives the coaching staff crazy. They don't want to be second down.
First down, you give him the ball, the football, and he goes -2. That's half as bad. That's half as bad as jumping off sides.
Yeah,
or legal procedure and being. 1st and 15, 2nd and 12 is just as bad as 1st and 15.
No, you're exactly right. And we've seen his high marks. We've seen the 44-yard runs and 69-yard runs. What he has to do is sort of increase his floor, so to speak. Instead of having those -2, -3s, have that be +2 and +3.
Yeah.
And if you have those +2 and +3s to go with those 44 and 69,
then all of a sudden you become.
Now you have a back.
Then you become a running back that you can depend on, and it can become a workhorse for you in the game. Cisco Merlo, is Parker's decline solely his fault or a combination of him and quarterback play? And does he remain a Dolphin next season? Well, I think he certainly remains a Dolphin next season. He's still under contract. I think he's got another year before he's available to get out there and see what's going on out there.
Good question.
Look, I think that's got to be. I would say all of the above on that one. I think he certainly has to. He's got to find his way to be an every down play. He's got to find his way to. Sometimes fight through injuries.
Yep.
And look, if you're out there and you're hurt, and I know he's still hurt now. Well, that's fine. But if you're on the field, you got to give your best. You got to play as if you're not hurt, and just fight through it. And that's the way it is. And you've got to make yourself presentable to the quarterback. You've got to put yourself in a position where that quarterback feels like if he puts that ball on you, you've got as much chance as the defender to catch that football. I don't know that the trust for Devante is as much it is now as it was at the beginning of the football season.
For whatever reason, Devante Parker is a 100% guy.
Yeah.
If he goes down to 95, 90, 85, he might as well be 50%.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's a mental thing that he just can't seem to fight through injuries and sort of raise his level when he's a little dinged up. Yeah. Or if it's just a physical thing where he just has to there are some track guys. I've covered the league for a long time. There's some track, they call them track guys. A lot of them are wide receivers that, in track you almost have to be 100% to run your 100-yard dash as well as you can. Maybe that's his issue, that when he's 95 or 97%, it doesn't seem to happen at many other positions. As you know, Bo, in your position, you'll play at 50%, and you'll still go and give it your all and still be mentally sharpened in the game. But for whatever reason, if he's less than 100%, you can't seem to get the best out of him. That's something that really he has to work through himself. You can't have a coach get that out of him.
A coach can't. You can't. You either have it or you don't have it.
Exactly.
It's not a learned trait. You just got to do it.
Yeah, and we've seen Devante Parker 100% in preseason where he's fighting for those 50-50 balls and making those catches. And now in November and October, when no player is going to be 100% this time of year, he's not fighting for those balls and things like he was before. And 4 out of the last 5 interceptions have been thrown Devante Parker's way. It's debatable whether you can blame him or not. But the fact that it's been thrown his way and that's resulted in a lot of interceptions.
It's funny you bring up track guys. Our receiver when I was in college, our guys used to call it that a near pull.
Oh,
and I go, bro, you're not proud. What's a near pull? Well, it's not pulled, but I'm afraid if I go, it's going to pull. It's a near pull, not a pull, but a near pull.
Yep.
I go, where the hell are you coming with a near pull? And evidently it worked. I tried it one time, and Coach Shula told me, get your ass in there and shut up. Peter Uzat, do you believe Gage when he says they're close? I do believe at times they're close. You look at some of the games, and look, they haven't played great from start to finish of a game yet this season.
Yeah, I'm trying to
think.
But
when you say close, you go back to the game against Tampa. 17 penalties, 4 takeaways.
Yeah.
Devante catches that ball in the end zone when he doesn't trip and catch that ball in the end zone. That's a completely different game.
Yeah.
You give up 17 points on turnovers in that game. That's being close because you turn the ball over twice. you have 8 penalties instead of 17, you probably win that game by 14.
I disagree with you on that one. I'm a firm believer in your record is what your record says you are, especially at this point of the year.
I got you.
And to me, their best game was probably the Atlanta Falcon game, and even then they really only played one half.
And they were way behind, and they had to come back from that. Right.
Exactly. So I haven't seen them play a complete game all year. Yep. So to say that they're close to what? Close to 500, close to a playoff team?
I guess close to me now is different than close to me 8 games
ago. Yeah. Close, so
I'm just looking to win a game now, man.
You think
just give me one damn game.
You think they're probably a couple games better than what they're.
I do. Look, I think they should have beat Tampa.
Yep.
And I think they should have beat the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think those are 2 games that they lost those games.
Yep.
You know
both at home too.
Yes. I mean, when I say they lost them, those are games that were winnable games.
Yep.
That they didn't play well. They made so many mistakes that hurt themselves, and that's why they lost them. Hey guys, you think it's time to draft a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round to learn behind Tannehill?
I wrote about that today.
I think that's going to be. I didn't read your article, so I'll let you go ahead and you can go ahead and follow up on that based on what your article was about.
I think it is time for them to draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. They haven't done so since Tannehill, and to me, regardless of whether Tannehill is the starting quarterback next year or not, even if he is, he's going to be 30 in July.
Yep.
You have to start thinking about who's going to be the guy behind him. Who knows if Tannehill's going to come back as the same player? Even his career record up until this point isn't all that great. So this is a great year for drafting quarterbacks. I mean, you can get a good guy in the 2nd round. I mean, you got Jackson in Louisville. You got Baker Mayfield. Different guys that could be had maybe in the 2nd round. They could be franchise changers. And I always think that you need to have a young guy waiting. Even the Patriots do this stuff. I mean, they just traded Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy that they developed over the last 3 years. And they later traded him and turned him into a 2nd round pick, which is good. But they still draft quarterbacks. Pretty much every few years or so. So I think it's time for the Dolphins now to do it. No more Brandon Doughty's. Nothing against Brandon Doughty, but no more 7th round picks or free agents, rookie free agents coming in. They need to have a guy highly drafted that they can develop and have at least behind Tannehill or maybe
take a spot. I guess my thought on that is I don't have a problem drafting a quarterback somewhere in that first half of the draft.
Okay.
But I think this team still needs to find a couple playmakers on the top of the on the top, because I saw a projection the other day where I think if the season were to end right now, the Dolphins would be drafting 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be in that top 10 ballpark there. And when you come to the 1st round, I don't know how these guys, the kid from SC, whether he comes out or not. Kid from UCLA,
Josh Rosen,
UCLA. He seems to be the guy that's going to be the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, he won't be there at 7.
Or thereabouts. He won't be around there. But I agree that it's time to go out and invest in somebody. But 1st and 2nd round to me this year, I'd be happy to see 1st and 2nd round be offensive guard, tight end, offensive guard. One of the 2.
If they take a guard in the top 10, Bo, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of Dolphin fans.
Yeah, but
then you see the product on the field, and you're like, they need a guard. That's the first thing you say.
That's all you've been talking about for 2. You're talking about 3 years. Talking about 3. Everyone talks. We need guards bad, but I don't want you to draft one. Well, what do you think? They're going to grow on trees or something?
Just take them in the 5th round.
We've seen what's gone on with turning over a stone and finding some guy somewhere else. So. But I look certainly a quarterback somewhere in the top end of the draft. I think is. I don't have a problem with that thought. Duke Dennis, hey Bo, what impressed you most about Coach Gase as he goes through this time of adversity? Well, you know what? I think he tries to keep everything the same.
I was going to say that.
I think he tries to stay consistent. The message that he gives the team is consistent from week 1 to where we are right now. But I tell you what, I think this guy's not. I don't think he's getting a lot of sleep these days. Yeah. I think this is gut wrench. I think this is gut wrenching to him. And you've spoken to him a lot. You've been around him a lot. I've spoken to him. I've been around him. He's a guy that has high expectations for himself and for his football team. And I know he still goes, look, it's one game at a time. It's one game at a time. But I guarantee you, this has been eating at him since day 1 of the season.
You hit the nail on the head on a lot of fronts. And Adam Gase is a more competitive person than what people see on the press conferences. He likes to have that even-keeled demeanor. in his press conferences, in game days. But as you mentioned, it's killing him inside that, the team's on a 5-game losing streak. They're not repeating that success. The players aren't really picking up everything that they're coaching and teaching in the second year that they were in the first year. But just like you said, the fact that he's remained the same guy. He was the same guy when they were 10-6. He's the same guy when they're 4-7, and that's the mark of a good coach. If you can stay consistent in your message, you're not changing, you're not flailing, you're not having different messages. That preaches consistency. So even though the team hasn't been consistent, the players haven't been consistent, the coaching staff is keeping that same consistency level, and that's how you have long-term success.
We'll end up with this one. El Chapo Jr., I can't leave him off the list here. Hey, Bo, if Tannehill was healthy this season, do you believe Ajayi would still be on this team? I do. Huh. And you know why I do? Because Ryan bringing in the run option opportunity there, I think that opens. I think that would have been. I think that affected Jay Ajayi and his ability too. Because look, if they're going to run a read option, Ajayi's always going to get the inside lane. Ryan's going to get the outside lane. Jay kept wanting to get outside, and so all you're doing is handing him the ball, letting him try to bounce outside. They're coming up in their they're bringing the edge up on him where he can't get outside, and he didn't have where to go. With Ryan, if he's able to stick that ball in there,
it freezes the outside.
The outside. He can either make the decision to pull away, and if the outside guy goes upfield, then Jay has a running lane. So I do think if Ryan were here and healthy, I think Ajayi would have probably been a more effective runner on the team, which is basically what the question that you're asking.
Yeah, and it all comes down to success. If Tannehill's healthy and Ajayi's here, the team probably wins more games. They're more successful at the trade deadline. And so, therefore, there's no reason to get rid of Ajayi in that respect. But because I think the team saw where the offense was going and everything, they felt they can get something for him and try to build for 2018.
All right, that's going to do it, James. Always a pleasure, my man. James Walker. You can catch him on ESPN.com. What's your Twitter?
At James Walker NFL, both on Twitter and Facebook.
There you go, at James Walker NFL on Twitter and Facebook. Pleasure having you, and hopefully next week I get to talk about better stuff, man. Good stuff after this week.
You need a win, Bo.
I need a win
just
badly,
as bad
man.
As this team needs a win.
Tell you what,
you need it.
I've had 5 depressing weeks in a row.
Oh, man.
When you wake up on Monday, you go, it's going to be another shitty week, man. It just is. It's been like that for a month. But anyway, it's going to be better. Don't jump off the cliff. I'm standing next to you, but don't jump off the cliff. We'll be back. It'll be bigger and better. It'll be brighter days ahead of us. Look at Leon. Leon even believes that too, right? All right. We'll see you on Friday again. Take care.